functional is the name of the crochet game today with this project. It's super quick. We're going to learn how to do this circle leaf stitch, which is super fun to do. And I love the texture that it creates and that open work. And we're going to be making water bottle holders. Now there are two sizes in the patterns because I want you to have options because I have lots of different cups and different sizes. So the smaller one is perfect for your average water bottle when you're going on the go, amusement parks, out in the summer, where at the pool, wherever you are. It's nice to stay hydrated. This makes it easy. You're just going to throw this over your shoulder and take your water bottle with you. And then I also have a size for those larger drinks and tumblers so that those can also come with you as well. And I love how the stitch just opens up once you throw a water bottle or container inside of them. For today's project, we will be using the Hirschner's Cottage Cotton Yarn. This is amazing. This is an acrylic cotton blend. There's a lot of yardage in this. There's 207 yards per ball, and you only need one of these to make one of these. So it's not a large project. You can use leftover yarns from other projects if you would like. And then we're going to be using a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. This is a G+. You'll also want a stitch marker when working in the round for sure, tapestry needle to weave in those ends, and scissors. Let's go ahead and get started. Now this water bottle holder is made from the bottom up and in one piece. So today on camera, I'm going to be making the smaller size, and we are going to start by creating a magic ring, chaining 1, and then we are going to start with half double crocheting 12. Now what you can do though for the very first half double crochet, we can start with what's called a stacked single crochet. So I'm entering the magic ring and creating a single crochet stitch, but then we're going to go back into this left loop here, and then we're going to, once I get in there, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. And we'll want to mark this very first stitch so we don't work around the edge, and that way when we get to the end of this round we will know exactly where to join. And now I'm going to half double crochet 11 additional stitches, so we will have a total of 12 stitches for this round 1. Now after doing those 12 stitches in that magic ring, we can go ahead and close that, and then we're ready for our next round. We're going to move our stitch marker and slip stitch into that first stitch of the round to join. And you can tighten this circle down as much as you want right now. You can weave in the end or leave it to weave in later. But now we're going to be doing round 2, and round 2 we're going to be increasing from 12 to 24 stitches. And we will start by working that first stitch as a stacked single crochet, and then place your stitch marker at the top of that stacked single crochet. And then we're going to half double crochet into that same stitch. So we've already increased by 1. And now we're going to do 2 half double crochets into each stitch around, and we will end this round with a total of 24 stitches. Now at the end of round 2, we will join to that very first stitch in the round with a slip stitch, and then notice I tighten that down. I just like to tighten it down. Then in this stitch that we just joined to, we're going to do a stacked single crochet, and then a half double crochet into the same. And we're going to mark that very first stitch in this round. And now we're going to do a half double crochet into the next stitch. And then here will be our repeat. We'll do 2 half double crochets into the next, and then 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. This will once again increase by 12 stitches. And at the end of this round, after doing that repeat all the way around, we will have a total of 36 stitches. So once again, that's 2 half double crochets, and then we'll just half double crochet 1. So once again, that is 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet into the next, and we'll repeat that around. Now at the end of round 3, we're going to join to the top, and this is where these set of instructions that we're doing next is for the size small only. It will be different if you're making the larger size. Now we're going to start with that stacked single crochet into that first stitch and mark it, and then we're going to do another half double crochet into the same stitch, and then we are going to work a half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. And here will be our repeat around. We'll do 2 half double crochets into the next, and then half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. And once we work this around, at the end of round 4, we'll have a total of 42 stitches for the size small. Now at the end of round 4, I slip stitch to join, and as we start to work round 5, we're not going to do any more increasing here. We're going to keep the stitch count the same, but this next round I am going to work in the 3rd loop. Now you do not need to or have to. The 3rd loop just adds this nice V stitch facing out. It's a little bit of a transition from the bottom to the top. I just like it as a detail, but if you don't want to work this round in the 3rd loop, that's fine. Just work it as regular half double crochets. So for this very first stitch where I've joined, we're going to be looking at the strand on the back. So when you're looking for the 3rd loop, you've got your V stitch happening here on the edge of the stitch at the top of the stitch. We're going to rotate towards the back and we're going to look for that strand that's just behind those V's on the back, and that's the 3rd loop when it comes to the half double crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook into that 3rd loop of this first stitch and do a stacked single crochet right here and then mark it. And this will be the first stitch of this round. And once again, we're not going to be increasing, so we're just going to be working 1 stitch into each stitch around. Then I'm going to half double crochet into that 3rd loop for the next stitch and for each stitch around. So we're just half double crocheting in each stitch around in the 3rd loop if you want. If you don't, honestly, not a big deal. We're just flipping the front of that stitch to create a nice little detail. I've joined at the end of round 5, and now for round 6 and round 7, we're going to start that round with a stacked single crochet and then half double crochet into each stitch around. So super simple half double crochet rounds for round 6 and round 7. Now after creating the base of this, now we are ready to start with that gorgeous circle leaf stitch. And it looks more complicated than it is. It's quite a simple repeat. But this first round, we're going to be working into these half double crochet stitches, and then in the remaining rounds, we'll be doing a repeat that's a little bit different. So we are going to start this. I've slip stitched to join, and we are going to start this by doing a single crochet in the very first stitch. Now you can chain 1 if you want, or you can go right into doing that single crochet stitch and mark it. I don't really find that chain 1 adds any value, to be honest, when it comes to crocheting. Sometimes I don't do that chain 1 when I'm working single crochet stitches at the beginning of a row or a round. Next, we are going to do what's called a stacked cluster. Yes, I did come up with this abbreviation and way to do it. I never saw it written this way before, but I really found that this made a lot more sense to me when writing the pattern and making it simpler and easier to understand. So what is a stacked cluster? Let's walk through it together. First, we're going to start by chaining 3. And this is a modified cluster, so this isn't like the clusters you may have worked before. Now we're going to yarn over, and in the 3rd chain from the hook, we are going to insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 on the hook. Then we're going to do that again, yarn over and insert into that same chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook. And now we have 3 loops on our hook, and we are going to yarn over and pull through all 3. This is the first part of a stacked cluster. So we've done the first cluster, and now we're going to do exactly what we did again. So we're going to chain 3, yarn over and work back into the 3rd chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over and do that again. And then we end up with 3 loops on our hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And that completes the stacked cluster. It's much easier to understand, I feel like, by writing it as a stacked cluster. And once you get doing the stitch a few times, you will quickly fly through it as a stitch pattern repeat. Now for this round, for round 1 of the body, now we're going to skip 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to single crochet into the next. So this is what our pattern repeat is going to be here. So we have single crocheted into the next after skipping 5, and now we're going to do a stacked cluster. So chaining 3, working into that third chain from the hook, we're going to work a little bit of a modified cluster here. Just a simple cluster, nothing too thick. Sometimes clusters end up with like 7 loops on the hook. And then we're going to do the stacked part of it. So we're going to do that cluster part again. And that's our stitch repeat. So we'll skip 5, single crochet into the next, and do a stacked cluster. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet, and then create a stacked cluster again. And that's the repeat all the way around. It's really a simple stitch. I love the way that it looks. It's really cute. So I'm going to repeat that all the way around by doing the skipping 5 and then single crocheting 1 and then doing the stacked cluster. And we'll repeat that all the way around until the end of this round. Now that we've worked this first round of the circle leaf stitch, we're going to go to round 2, and round 2 is going to be our repeat all the way through round 6 or round 9 if you're working the larger size. So we've skipped the last 5 stitches in this first circle leaf round, and we are going to slip stitch to join to that single crochet. And now our next thing that we need to do to get ourselves set up for round 2 is we need to start by working in between, so that working around the center of the stacked cluster. So we're going to be working around the center and into this space. But to get there, we'll need to slip stitch up to this point just to start the round. Now you can slip stitch along the back loops of these chain stitches if you want, or if you really want to hide it, because I am a person who loves to hide seams, you can kind of flip this first stacked cluster to the back, and you can grab loops along the back and loosely, you don't want to pull too tight because you don't want to mess up the stitch, just loosely slip stitch a couple stitches along the back. This will end up looking great on the front. And now I'm close enough to this space where I'm going to start this round without chaining, and I'm simply just going to do a single crochet around the center of that stacked cluster, and then mark this as the first stitch of the round. So this is round 2. We've done a single crochet around the center of a stacked cluster. Now we're going to do our stacked cluster. And I do like to work, when I work into chains, I like to work into that bottom hump. I just like the way that it looks. All right, now that we have completed a stacked cluster, we are going to go to the next stacked cluster from the round below, and we're going to single crochet around the center of that. So into the space and around the center of that stacked cluster from the round below, just like so. It creates a really nice look, and we can already see where this circle leaf is starting to come in, and we can see that pattern starting. So in all the remaining stitches around, then this is our repeat for all the rounds we're going to be working. We're going to be working a total of 6 circle leaf rounds for this size, and you can always adjust it to be shorter or taller to fit a custom water bottle that you have that you like to take with you. We'll be doing that single crocheting between the stacked clusters, do a stacked cluster again, and then we're just going to keep repeating that. So it's just single crochet 1 between the stacked cluster from the round below, and then do another stacked cluster. So it's a really fun stitch to work. You can do this one while watching TV. It's super simple to see where your stitches are going, especially as this pattern works up. So here's another stacked cluster. And then I'm just going to move to the next stacked cluster and work into that space right around the center of that stacked cluster from the round below. And repeat that all the way around. Now that we are to the end of round 2, we're simply going to move our stitch marker and slip stitch to that first single crochet of the round. And then once again, slip stitch up until we get to the center of the next stacked cluster. And you can do this along the back if you want, or you can simply slip stitch in those chain stitches along the edge. And I don't like to pull it too tight because I don't want it to disfigure the stitch on the front. It kind of rolls forward slightly, but you can block it back, and especially once the water bottle's on there, you don't even really notice where that seam is. So now for round 3, 4, 5, and 6, we are simply going to be repeating round 2. I'm going to be doing those rounds off camera, and then we'll come on back. And this is so fun to watch this circle leaf lace stitch work up. Now that we have completed this body portion, which is super cute, and I'm loving it in this purple, we are going to go to our next section and do the top portion of this, which we're going to be working some plain half double crochets again to even out the top of this. Now, if you're making a larger size, you'll be doing more rounds here and you'll have more stitches. Right now, we're going to have 42 stitches at the end of this round 1 of the top. So what we're going to do to make this round is we're going to start by doing a single crochet into the center of that stacked cluster, which we have done this before, but next we're going to be doing some chains. We're not doing the stitch pattern as we did before. We're simply going to chain 5, and I want to quickly remind you, it's never a bad idea to go ahead and mark that first stitch of the round. And then we're going to go to the next stacked cluster and we're going to single crochet in the center of that, and then chain 5. And then we're going to do that again. And we're going to repeat that all the way around, and we will end this round with 42 stitches, including the chains. So now that we worked the single crochets in between the stacked clusters and the chain 5s, we're back at the beginning, and we're going to move our stitch marker and we're going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch. And now we're ready to work rounds 2 through 4, and they're all going to be worked in the same way. We're going to start by doing a stacked single crochet. And now we're going to half double crochet in the remaining stitches around. So on this very first round, we will be working 1 half double crochet into each chain, and then a half double crochet into that single crochet over here. But we're going to have 42 stitches. We're not changing that stitch count. I like to work through those bottom humps a bit, but we're going to half double crochet in every single chain and single crochet stitch around and join. And then we're going to work rounds 3 and 4 the same. We're just going to start with a stacked single crochet and half double crochet in each stitch around. And what that's going to do is it's going to even out the top to look like these rounds up here. So I'm going to work those 3 rounds off camera and come on back. Now that we have worked all the way around and we've joined for this top part, we're ready to work on this long strap. We're going to go right into that, and we're just going to be doing a lot of rows until we make it really long, and then we'll attach it on the other side. Now you can do this different thickness. Like you can see I did a little bit thick here for the larger one, but for this size, how we're going to do this is we're going to start in that very first stitch where we joined by doing a stacked single crochet. And then we're going to half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So 5 total stitches per row. And now we're simply going to turn our work. We're going to repeat that. We'll start with this very first stitch as a stacked single crochet. I love how it just creates a straight edge for us. And then half double crochet into the remaining 4 stitches across. And we're going to be doing that until we have the length that we want. You can kind of try it on to see where you want it to hit on your body. But for mine, I did 110 total rows, but we're only doing 5 stitches per row. So that's how we're going to build that strap. And look at this really long strap that you can customize to be whichever size you want. The final thing we need to do is just stitch it on the other side. So I'm simply going to fasten off and grab my yarn needle. All right, now that we have this ready to stitch, all we have left to do is to stitch it to the other side. But we want to make sure we're skipping equal stitches on the front and the back here. So we want to make sure on the size that we're doing, so this is the smaller size, we've done 5 stitches for this strap. We've done the smaller thickness. If you've adjusted that, simply see how many stitches you have left and do equal on each side. So for the size small, we're going to be skipping 16 stitches. Now, after we've counted 16 stitches along this side, we are going to insert our yarn needle into the very next one, and this will be seaming this strap to this edge. Make sure, double check, I always love to double check, make sure this isn't twisted. And then we're simply going to seam back and forth for the next 5 stitches. And if we don't lose our yarn here. And then this finishes off this project. So you're just going to go back and forth, seaming these edges together stitch per stitch, and then you will weave in your ends and fasten off. And that is it for this fun water bottle holder, or you can even do the larger corksicles in the larger size. But how fun is that? I love the look of this. This is going to the parks with me this season to stay hydrated and have a cute way to carry my water hands free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and come back for more fun projects soon.